Alright, every time I do this, there's so much face. I'm sorry, folks, but gee. Let me back this up a little bit. This is about to fall. I hope it doesn't fall right now. Alright, so anyway, that's as good as it gets. So last night I had this, this idea because I'm going overseas to Haiti, and it's been a while since I've been overseas in general, right? The last time I went overseas, I mean, if you count Mexico, I mean, we were in San Diego, we walked across, Noelle and I walked across the border, and that was it. But that was like, what, 5 years ago? And you can't really count that. The time prior to that was probably like, what, 2003 or so, and I went to Hong Kong. It's been a while, okay? So, the trash guy, or not the trash guy, but the landscaping guy is all outside trying to peep in, like, what are you doing, bruh? But anyway, I was curious about what do I need to do for my upcoming trip. Sorry, this is kind of tilted. And I was looking at some of the fact information for traveling to Haiti, and it said something about you can't, if your passport hasn't been, I forget what it said, within the last 6 months, then you may not be able to travel into Haiti. They might not let you in. Excuse me. So I'm like, what does that mean? I can't remember the exact wording now, but it basically was saying that if, all I was reading at that time, and it was late at night, mind you, was that 6 months and passport and expiration. Now, keep in mind, I had my passport for quite some time. It expired back this summer, and dragged my feet. Finally got it, sent in, and got it in November of last year, 2015. So, I was counting up, like, wait, I have this trip in February. That's not 6 months, because I was thinking that it's got to be 6 months that the passport has been issued, because it mentioned something about passport been issued and this, that, and the other, right? I was freaking out because I'm thinking, okay, I've put a whole lot of money into this and all of everything. So I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? I mean, I don't want to travel there and then they tell me, no, bro, you can't come in. So I was freaking out. So then finally, I went and I got my passport. Now Noelle keeps it in a safe, where we keep a lot of important things, and so I went to the safe trying to figure out how to open it up and trying to be quiet while she's asleep and all this stuff. So I finally get the safe open and I look in there. I can't find my passport, and I'm thinking, well, what the hell? I see everything else but that. I see hers and everything, so I'm looking. So I sit down and I'm thinking, damn, like, where is it? Did I not put it back in there? Like, did the girls take it? Because, they take the phone, they take everything. So finally I see a tiny piece of a blue book, and I saw Noelle's at the top. So I grabbed it, and so it was mine, obviously. So I looked at it, and again, it did say that it was issued back in November. So I'm like, oh shit. So I went back to the computer and I searched some more stuff, and finally I found the right answer. And it was basically saying that if your passport expires within 6 months of you arriving, then you're not going to be able to get in. And it's not just Haiti. There's a lot of countries that are like that. Some, it's, within 3 months, some within a month. It just depends on where you're going to go. But I never knew that. So if your passport is going to expire within 6 months before you travel, I would advise getting another passport sent to you immediately, because otherwise you may not be able to get in. It doesn't matter how friendly we are to that country. If your passport's too close to being towards the expiration date, they won't let you in. And as I read more and more about it, it was saying that the reason why they won't let you into some countries whenever your passport's so close to being expired is because they, depending upon the country, the fear is that something could happen and you have to stay longer, and then therefore you're there with an expired passport, right? So, yeah. I mean, I never knew. So I was freaking out at night for really no reason. I should have went to bed earlier, and I wouldn't have had that issue. But, yeah, definitely. If you're going someplace this summer, overseas, make sure that you have your passport updated. Check the expiration date because you don't want to be caught with a surprise like so many people unfortunately are. It's more common than you think. I didn't realize that. But apparently it's pretty common for that to happen where you're excited about your trip and then there you go. You know, you're stuck. So there's a couple of different places it could be. It could be that, because you know the girls, once they Zara, basically. If she finds the phone, she might have put it someplace just to play, because they always play like they're on the phone. I don't know. It could be behind the bed. It could be under the bed. It could be 1,000 different places right now, which is, you know, which is crazy, but it's kind of the typical antics of what goes on here in the house. I mean, the girls will find something and then I can't find it, or Noelle will put something someplace and I can't find it. Yeah, I don't know. So hopefully I can find it before the battery dies, and then I have no way of finding it at all until, you know, next month or so. Sorry. Anyway, you know, don't judge me. One of the biggest fears I have, it's not really a fear, but it's kind of like a fear in a way, because, okay, I gotta get shots. And so I alluded to this before, that I'm gonna have to get some shots, and I don't like that. Like, I don't like needles. Like, to me, it's one of the things that I hate the most. It's a couple of different things, right? I don't like going to the doctor's office because, you know, you have to sit there and wait, and it's like this impending doom type of situation. Like, I'm going to have to go there to get shots, or I'm going to have to go there to get poked or prodded or pulled or something. So I just don't like going to the doctor's office. So I have to sit and wait and have everybody look at you and wonder, like, well, why are you here for? You know? And so I have to sit and wait for that. And you finally get called. You have to go and get embarrassed by weighing yourself on the scale. Although, I mean, I ain't bad. I mean, you know, your boy ain't bad. But you have to sit and, you know, get on the scale and feel like you're being judged a little bit. Then you have to go back there and, you know, answer whatever questions the nurse has of you. So, you know, it's like, well, what do you do? So, you know, once you do that, you then have to wait for the doctor to come in, and, you know, it's just antagonizing. So first you hear the doctor. So as I was saying, you have to wait on, you know, the doctor to come in, which is equally nerve-wracking because you can hear them. It's kind of like a little teaser, right? So you can hear the doctor come out, and you know them by their voice, right? You can hear them going to other offices and coming out talking to the nurses and the whomever out there, and they get close, and you're thinking, okay, you know, I'm getting ready. And then, you know, not so much. They'll go someplace else. And so it's nerve-wracking. That's one of the reasons why I hate going, right? But I got to get shots because I'm going to Haiti, right? So they suggest, you know, they give you the worst case, never going to happen type scenario, right? Well, you need a typhoid shot. You need a malaria shot, which, you know, malaria, I get it, right? You need something else. So there's 3 shots that they recommend that you should probably consider getting if you go over to Haiti. And, you know, you might need a rabies shot if you're going to be dealing with animals and stuff and all of this stuff. You know what I mean? So part of me is like, all right, well, do I, you know, just not even worry about it, or do I just go and get them, whatever the case may be? But it's something that I probably need to go do. But I don't know how everyone else feels, but for me, that's one of the things I hate about going to the doctor's shots. Even when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my mom would take me to the doctor, and I would think every time after getting the first couple of shots and being able to remember them, I would say I'm not going. So my mom would kind of, you know, not really trick me, but try to make me believe like I'm going because of my ear. Like, oh, you're getting your ears cleaned out, or oh, you're going so they can look into your eyes and see if you're okay, or that type of thing. Oh, you're going to go get a physical, don't worry about it, ain't going to be no shots. So when I get there, the doctor would come out with like a big old horse needle, like a big old huge shot. And I would kick my doctor. I would try to bite the nurse. I wasn't down for that. So I think ever since then, I've just had this belief that if you go to the doctor, it's just going to suck. So here comes college, right? In college, I had this nasty, like, pimple. Oh, and that goes to the other thing I need to talk about. But I had this nasty pimple that was like on my arm, I believe. And it was just, so I think I messed with it and it got really bad. Well, I started to feel a little sick and I didn't know what was going on. So I go to the doctor and they were like on campus, because you know they have campus doctors and stuff. So they were like, oh, well, you probably have like a little bacterial infection or something. So we'll give you some medicine, right? So I thought, okay, I'll just take some, you know, antibiotics or whatever. So she's like, you know, but I told her like, hey, I have a trip coming up. I forget where it was, but I have a trip coming up. So, you know, I don't know if I'm going to remember to take, you know, pills and stuff on time. So she's like, you know, no problem. This isn't a big deal, you know, like it's probably something that's minor. Just, you know, I'll give you a shot of antibiotics, right? So she comes back with I've never, and I'm not just making this up, I've never seen a needle so thick and so long in my life. She came back with this huge needle. And so she said, I'm thinking, you know, you're going to give it to me in the arm. No. So she's like, I'll give it in your hip. And so I said, okay. So she basically, you know, I pull it down, show my buns. So she basically, you know, she gave the needle like this, you know, she boom. But to me, it felt like she took a running start and ran into me. Like it hurt so bad, my knees buckled. I don't like needles. I just don't. I don't like going to the doctor because there's always this surprise. So go back to, this is later in life, right? So this was after I had graduated college and I had my first house. And I was, this was when I lived in Indianapolis. I had, and this is why I never pop pimples. I've learned never pop a pimple, never scratch a pimple, never mess with a pimple, because anything can go wrong. In fact, if you notice a lot of the videos, this one thing is not a mole, it's a pimple. But I've left it there for a reason, because I've learned my lesson. So I ended up having a pimple on my chest, right? It's right here. So, right about here. Okay? And at the time, I had a cold. You know, this was during the winter months, excuse me, where there's flu and all that stuff. So I had a cold, and I would blow my nose. I have a handkerchief and stuff, not to be gross, but I'd blow my nose. And I probably didn't wash my hands when I met, and I know it sounds gross, but, you know, I mean, when your nose is a faucet, I mean, sometimes you forget to wash your hands, right? And I'm always about washing my hands. It's one of my things I do. I wash them several times, even when I don't need to, but I must have forgotten. So this bump, I kind of like, you know, I'm like, well, I'll pop it. Pop I go. Well, then, literally an hour later, it starts to itch, and I look, and it looked like I never popped it. It came back the same way. It was the weirdest thing. Like, it seemed like, and I'm thinking, didn't I just pop this? So, what did I do? Popped it again. So, literally, a bit later, it starts to really, really itch. And not only itch, but hurt. And it started to look red around there. Like, it looked like a sting. And I thought I had gotten bitten by a spider. And I told people at work, yo, I got bitten by a spider, this, that, and the other, because it looked like it. So I didn't pop it anymore. Because I'm like, I don't know what this is, but apparently it ain't no pimple no more. So, to make a long story short, the chick I was dating at the time, because this was after my first, because I've only been divorced once, been married twice, divorced once. So, this was the chick I was dating at the time, not Noelle. But she said, you need to go to the doctors because, like, that doesn't look right. And she said, because I can see some red lines. Now I'm not like a dark-skinned brother. I mean, I'm not light-skinned. But for it to be, I guess I don't know what I am. But for it to have red streaks coming out of it, it was bad. And at that point, it started to puff up and swell. And she was like, if it gets worse, then I'm going to make you go in. It got worse. So I go to the doctor. It was one of these urgent care clinics. And they drew circles around this bump. At this point, it was so big, you could look down and it was sticking out from my shirt. Like it was just standing out. You could see it. So they drew circles around it. And then they drew circles around the red spot. And then they said, if the redness goes past this line, we're going to put you in the hospital and give you antibiotics through an IV because it could be MRSA. And I didn't know what the hell MRSA was at the time, but I do now. He says you have a bad staph infection. So I'm like, what the hell? So apparently staph can be in your nose. And when I basically blew my nose, didn't wash my hands, I popped a pimple and infected myself at the same damn time. I didn't know it. So he said, I want you to come back tomorrow so that we can see if this has happened because otherwise you're going to be in the hospital. I'm thinking, really? Like, it's that serious? He's like, yeah, it could be, you could die from this. So I'm thinking, all from popping a damn pimple. So I go back the next day. Now, this was on my lunch break at work because the place was not far from my work. Literally, I could walk there. It was like maybe, not even a half a block. So I go there and this older doctor, he comes in and he looks at it and he said, okay. He looked through the notes and everything. He's like, lay it back on the table. Let me take a look. Now, this is all he says. Let me take a look at it. So I said, fine, because it's hurting. Like, it's hurting bad. He gets his tools out, his little scalpel out. And that's all I see, because, when you see the doctor's instruments, they shine brighter than what they're than what they really are. But I'm like, oh, my God. He takes his scalpel, and he's like, I can't numb it because it's in an area where it's not going to matter. Like, I can try to numb it, but it's not going to help you. So he basically takes the scalpel, and if you're squeamish, if you're squeamish, don't listen to the rest of this because it's a little bit rough. Okay, trust me, I went through it, so it was rough for me. He took the knife and cut into the pimple, cut down, and I felt there was no numbing cream, no nothing. He cut down into it and then took the scalpel and was like trying to open up a hole. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm screaming like a little bitch. I'm not even a bitch. I was screaming. I mean, the whole clinic, I'm sure, heard me. I was shaking like I was just, it hurt so bad. Then he pressed down, and I looked down, and it was like someone squeezing toothpaste out of a tube of toothpaste. It was just this thick, nasty, white and yellow, and it stunk. I mean, mind you, this was at this point, the infection was massive. And so he pushed all that stuff out and pushed it out. And then guess what? He goes back in again with the knife because he's like, we got to open it up a little bit more and get the rest of it out. It sucked. To basically say it sucks. So I've learned, A, never to get pimples popped. Don't you pop your pimples, don't scratch them, don't do nothing. But B, it's one of the other reasons why I don't like going to the doctor. Whether it's to go get a shot, whether I go to get a physical, whatever the case may be, I have my reservations about going to the doctor, but you should go to the doctor, obviously, because, you know, all the stuff they tell you. But I just want to give you my story about why I don't really like going to the doctors. So tell me your experiences, things that you've experienced when you went to the doctor and it just stood out to you. If you don't mind, obviously, I know there's HIPAA laws and stuff like that, but as long as you say it's okay, then that's fine. But tell me some of the experiences that you had. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Or make sure that you give comments too. Give us a subscribe, and we will see you until next time. Take care.